The Beam Team.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports 1140. It's time for game night. Getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good evening to you. Welcome into game night. We're coming to you live from the Golden One Center. Scott Marsh, not with the high flyer tonight. Apparently he's a little under the weather. He will not be here tonight, unfortunately. So I'll be covering it solo here from the arena. We've got Kyle Ledbetter back at our Sacktown studios. We'll get you ready for the Kings and Jazz tonight. Sacramento coming off that big night in San Antonio where they shot the ball well. They made 16 three-pointers. That's right, 16 three-pointers. And they beat the Spurs 140-113. You heard the Niners. Of course, they win today against Chicago. Greg Papa, who's wrapping up the post-game, was saying, what does it mean for San Francisco? Well, bottom line, they got to win Thursday night against the Rams. That's a huge game with L.A. coming up with a big win against the Bills at home. And, of course, we'll have the game on our HD3 channel on Thursday night. The Niners and the Rams will also have Kings basketball on Thursday night right here on Sacktown Sports. We'll get into all of that later as well, but we want to focus in on the Kings as they come into this contest with a record of 11-13 overall. And they take on a Jazz team that is just 5-17, but last time out, they absolutely blew out the Portland Trailblazers 141-99, a dismantling of the Portland Trailblazers, who we know beat up the Kings pretty good last time they were up in Portland. Lots of issues with the Jazz as well, trying to find out what's going on with Markkanen and the whole scenario there with him. So lots of things we can discuss about the Jazz. We've got it here until 5:30 tonight. We'll get you ready for Kings Live pregame. It's a 6 o'clock tip tonight, Kings in Jazz. We'll have the action all night long. Kyle, how are you, my friend? You've been working double duty today.
Yep, we are having a wonderful time. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk Kings coming off of a Kings win. I've been doing a lot of shows in the midday and here on the station, been listening to a lot of people who've been real down this season so far. So coming off of a big win on Friday, today's a great day to be back for Kings basketball.
No doubt. I've been calling you the Kings jinx, but I got to stop that now because they actually did win a game when you were involved. So that's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad about that.
We're finally back in the win column. I went away and everything fell apart, but now we're back and I'm ready to take on the Jazz. I'm feeling real good about today's game. Excited to get into it with you.
I like it. I'm excited to get into when we come back. We're going to get into Mike Brown had a lengthy pregame press conference today. A lot of nuggets to take from that. A lot of breaking down of just philosophy and what they're doing from an offensive standpoint and his philosophy on three-point shooting and its impact on wins and losses. We'll talk all about all of that when we come back. It is game night. It's brought to you by Power Business Technology. Experience how the power of family can help your business office equipment needs today. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or go to powercopiers.com. Game night is underway from the Golden One Center right here on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Keegan Murray plays here.
Keegan scores another three-pointer. Keegan Murray knocking it down for 23 points. Matched De'Aaron Fox for game scoring honors.
Sacktown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single-line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Whitey here reminding you that not all grills are created equal. Give your family a real treat. Bring out all the flavors of the upcoming holidays with the amazing Napoleon Prestige line of outdoor cookers. And get this, Napoleon Grill's Black Friday Cyber Mondays include a limited time $300 off their top-selling Phantom Grill and 15% off all gas, kettle, and travel grills. Napoleon grills are built different, built better, built to last. Complete with a lifetime warranty and premium steel that boasts absolute quality. Whitey and Napoleon Grills wish you happy holidays. Visit Green Acres Nursery today for your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Yeah, there are so many football games streaming this season. Can Xfinity Internet handle it?
Oh, we know the game is only live once, so we built a network with all-pro speeds and low lag so you don't miss a snap.
So I can yell, "He's open!" when he's actually open?
Yeah, but the quarterback still can't hear you.
Switch to Xfinity Internet and TV and enjoy instant access to your favorite live sports with the Xfinity Stream app. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Streaming content limited to the U.S. Programming subject to change.
At Elk Grove Honda, our recipe for happy holidays is to think Happy Honda Days. Let's explain. Happy is a good thing. We all like happy. Honda stands for quality, reliability, comfort, design, peace of mind, value at resale, and a lot more feel-good words. Days is how long you have left to take advantage of Elk Grove Honda's year-end clearance underway right now. Elk Grove Honda is located in the Elk Grove Auto Mall, Highway 99 at Elk Grove Boulevard, or visit us at elkgrovehonda.com.
I gotta get an Elk Grove Honda. Febreze.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Welcome back into game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh, again, the high flyer out this evening. I've got Kyle Ledbetter back at our Sacktown studios. He's no longer the Jinx. The Kings winning on Friday night against the Spurs. And the Spurs, a team you wrote a lot about, Kyle. You've written a book on the San Antonio Spurs, so we'll get into that a little bit as well. If people want to join us, they can call us 916-339-1140. We're up and running in our YouTube chat as well. We got some feedback from listeners and people following us, Kyle. They wanted us up on the YouTube chat during the Kings games at home. So that's why we're getting this done as well. So we appreciate people following there as well. We'll be with you until 5:30 today. Kings and Jazz, as we said, Utah just 5-17. And they've got a lot of stuff going on, so hopefully the Kings can take advantage of it tonight. But first, we'll go back to the game in San Antonio, Kyle. Obviously, the Kings shot the ball well, and the big discussion afterwards is it pretty much a make-or-miss league. Brendan Nunes, our colleague at Sacktown, had a great stat that when Kevin Huerter's in double digits, the Kings are 9-2 this year. And the record is, well, you calculate the rest when he isn't. So is it simply a make-or-miss league? Mike Brown was asked that question in the pregame press conference, and he gave an extended answer, probably 5 minutes long. And, he just basically said, I can't look at it this way, because there's so many other things going on with our team. There's so many other things that if we do the block out right, if we run our pocket offense correctly, if we don't allow easy outlets and transition defense, we can still win games. And he pointed to the Rockets and Orlando, who are teams that shoot the three-pointer worse than the Kings do, but they have outstanding records. So that was kind of his counter to it. What's your thought about all that?
I think there's more to it than just the making and missing shots, but I also think it starts there for the Sacramento Kings. I know there's been all the stats going around about they're 4-1 when Herter hits this number of shots, or they're 5-1 when Keegan hits this number of shots. And I think that missing element of the offense has been there because I believe it was Tim Bontemps who pointed out before the Spurs game that when De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis are on the floor together, that lineup of those three guys has one of the highest net ratings in the entire NBA. So
in fact, it was number one, at least for a while, Kyle.
It was. I think it's
number one.
I think it was 5 or 6.
It might have slipped a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, their starting 5 unit was like number one when you put it together.
Yeah.
But anyways, regardless, it's outstanding. So
yeah, it's been outstanding this year. And at times it's just the bench offense has disappeared. The shooting times disappears. How many times have you or I come back here after a game and talked about Kevin Herter having a 0-point game or going 0 for 7 from the 3. And it's not so much the struggles, it's the zero output games that have really hurt the Kings more than anything else. So to see it all come together for their highest scoring game of the season, where 6 different players scored 16 points for Sacramento, it was great to see it all come together for one night. Obviously no Wemby for the Spurs, but you take advantage of the opponent that you play.
No doubt. And that's the bigger point. No Wemby, no Devin Vassell as well. So the Kings caught a break, but they took advantage of it. And that's really all that matters. Quickly on the Spurs, as I said, you wrote the definitive book on the San Antonio Spurs. And I encourage everybody to get that. It's on Amazon. You're a published author. I've read your book. It's fantastic. Again, Kyle Ledbetter, look it up.
Thank you.
I think you would enjoy reading it. But what's your take now with San Antonio? And obviously Pop has been out for a little while. Mitch Johnson's taken over. They're still trying to do the same things. What do you take of where San Antonio is based on all the years and research that you've done on that club?
Well, this is a completely new version of San Antonio. And going into the season, I talked about how Popovich is the only real link remaining between the teams of 7 years ago that were making playoff runs year after year after year. In fact, every year for 29 out of 30 years, deep conference finals runs, obviously winning 5 championships. But Popovich was that one link, and now even Popovich is away from the team after the minor stroke that he suffered, and he's been recovering from that. So this is a completely new group, and I know Henry Turner and I have talked about this. Like it's time to cancel Christmas with Wemby. As soon as he puts this all together and they get a legit top of the league 2 or point guard around him. I mean, he's 20 years old right now, and he's already top 10 in the league in net rating. He's on a crash course to defensive player of the year. Against the Kings this year, he's averaging 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 8.5 assists to go along with 3 blocks a game. And obviously the Spurs beat the Kings twice when Wemby was there. I mean, he is... It's hard to fathom not if, or at this point, it's almost not if, but when he's going to win an MVP at this point. And so when he puts the whole package together and health permitting, like they have something really special to work with. And it's just going to make everything easier as they figure out, who's going to be his number 2 and who's going to be his number 3. One other thing that I thought was interesting is that when the Kings played them the first time early in the season, despite Wemby's production, they had one of the lowest offensive ratings in the league, and over the last month they've actually been top 10 in the league offensively. So you're seeing improvement as they learn, this group with the Spurs, adding Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, learns to figure out how to play with each other.
No doubt. And with Wemby, I mean, it's the first player really since LeBron coming into the league where there's going to be players who are going to come to San Antonio just to play with Wemby. They're going to figure that thing out, and San Antonio's future is definitely bright. Wemby is on a pace to win an MVP award at some point in his career. The Spurs are well positioned to get right back trying to win a 6th NBA championship. All right, let's focus in on the Kings. One of the questions asked to Mike Brown, and it was asked by David Locke, who's the outstanding radio voice for the Utah Jazz. He was asking, obviously things are different this year in their approach to their offense. The pace hasn't been the same. Keegan Murray's asked to fill in a new role. Wins and losses haven't been as successful as year one. Is it a matter of trying to go back to year one when they were playing with tremendous pace and hitting threes versus what they're trying to do now with this roster? And Mike's Brown explanation was That was a healthy roster a couple of years ago. They haven't had the same health that they did then. He also, of course, threw out DeMar and the acquisition of him. They're not playing with the same pace. You can't play with the same pace when you have a DeMar DeRozan. The same shots aren't going to be there because DeMar is the ultimate mid-range warrior. And basically, his answer to that question is that the players on this roster have to adjust to where things are at in year 3. It's not a matter of Mike Brown trying to adjust back to where they were in year 1, where maybe they caught a lot of teams off guard because of the new approach, new system, the healthy and the depth of that roster that they had in year 1. So what do you make of that? I mean, I think it's true. You can't go back, right? It's not the same roster, and this team's got the ability to win and win consistently the way they go about it now. But I think a lot of people, if we're being candid about it, wonder why aren't we playing more like we did in year 1 when we were fun, exciting, and the number 3 seed in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting answer from Mike Brown because, on the surface, it makes sense, right? You make the switch from DeMar DeRozan to Harrison Barnes. You're adding some things, but it also comes with an adjustment period. And the thing that I was really disappointed about was all the injuries that started to stack up after about 11 games into the season where Malik gets hurt, the back injuries for DeRozan and Sabonis. They never really got healthy. They never got healthy until about a few games ago. And then at that point, they moved Malik Monk into the starting lineup. It felt like through the first 11 games, they were learning how to play with each other. DeRozan was isolating in the offense a lot. He had the stretch of 20-point games. And then as they were learning how to play alongside that, everything broke up because of the injuries. So I'm excited to see now what it looks like. And by the way, the offense has gotten better with the addition of Malik in the starting lineup. And I think that's part of them learning how to play with each other is that Mike Brown, who for 150 games started everyone except Malik Monk because that was the team he used to have. Now the team they have now is integrating Monk in the starting lineup. And since they've made that move, they've had their 3 highest scoring quarters of the entire season. They've only had 3 quarters where they've scored more than 40 points. All have been since Monk has gone in the starting lineup. So I think this is part of those adjustments is that this roster is not the same, and therefore this offense is not going to look the same.
Agreed with that. And there's a lot to chew on with that. And, I think Mike Brown's, he didn't really want to start Malik Monk. Obviously, he loved him coming off the bench, but it was kind of like everything else really seemingly wasn't working with this Kings team. So why not give Malik a chance to start? And we know that Malik's been wanting to start this entire time. And the truth of it is they've been better with Malik starting. Of course, there's a trade-off. This team is not nearly as good off the bench with Malik starting. I mean, we saw the game in Memphis where they had 15 bench points. 15 bench points. They were outscored 60-15. So against good teams that are deep like the Grizzlies, the Kings are in trouble. But, you have to pick your poison, right? And I think they're better off with Malik starting. And truly the answer is going to be Kevin Huerter has to be consistent. Trey Lyles, when he comes back, has to be consistent. You're getting good production now from Isaac Jones. You've got to get decent minutes from Jordan McLaughlin and Keon Ellis. And if that doesn't work, then you've got to make a roster change. You've got to bolster up. Jay Crowder, you go out and get him. I think that's a net positive for the team. They're better with Jay Crowder, but you're going to need to find a shooter somewhere. You're going to have to complement if that roster is not going to be deep enough.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're finally taking more chances with players, who were presumed at the start of the season further down the bench. Isaac Jones obviously being the best example of that, because the one thing Mike Brown has consistently felt very good about is he likes playing 8 guys, sometimes 9, but predominantly 8 guys. Even in the Beam Team season, it was the starting 5. It was Monk off the bench. It was Lyles off the bench. It was Davion, and then
not
occasionally
necessarily the same 8 guys.
No, not necessarily, but at least they had health that season, and even going back to that season to now, he's always enjoyed 8 or 9 off the bench. He doesn't like going to 11 or 12. He sees that as the best way to go, and so I like that they've rotated guys in and out. Now, Keon sits for 2 games, comes back, has that huge productive game. Now he's back in the group of 8. Maybe Jay Crowder's playing a few less minutes. Isaac Jones plays great. Well, now that he's out, or Trey Lyles goes out, Isaac Jones goes in. Now that Isaac Jones is out, maybe Jay Crowder slides in. So it's been interesting to watch the mix and match of rotations, given that a lot of the conversation has been about they need to make a roster move here and there. Well, they added Jay Crowder, and they've been able to figure it out in between.
Yep. All right. Good discussion. We'll continue it in our chat room, perhaps. If not, we'll bring it on the backside when we come back from the break. This is Game Night. It's coming to you live from the Golden One Center Kings and Jazz tonight. Game Night being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Check out their full line of luxury vehicles at mbofstockton.com. We'll also go around the league. We'll get you caught up on all the other games going on tonight in the association, some other news as well. Game Night continues right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
All right, Scott, can you hear me?
I got you.
All right, great. Then we are live on YouTube. Pretty
Fantastic.
much did the same
We're
thing.
Not going out on the air or anything like that.
No, you are definitely not going out on the air. I can confirm that.
Okay. You are an engineering wizard.
I made sure to turn off the button before I tested it. It's basically the same thing. It's just I'm not going to bore the YouTube people with technical jargon.
No,
I just
but
have
they
to
should appreciate they should appreciate your engineering talents. I need to make that known for everybody who's in our chat room.
I appreciate that. I just made sure it's the same buttons, but just one different. And now we're on YouTube. So hi, YouTube people. Thank you for stopping in.
Yes. What do we got going on in our chat tonight?
Yeah, I think people are talking about the Jay Crowder conversation that we were having and how,
okay,
the Kings can't. This is kind of my 2 cents on it all. Like we were talking about before, the Kings were never going to be able to make a big move this early in the season, in part because you just can't trade all your players at this point, right? December 15th is the deadline for people who signed the previous year. January 15th is the extension deadline. So nothing was realistically going to get done in terms of a big trade until probably a couple weeks from now. But I like that they've brought in Jay Crowder in the short term, and they needed to after Trey Lyles went down. But I think the best gift that they've received is Isaac Jones slides in, and he's been incredibly productive to start at that power forward position. And so when Trey Lyles theoretically comes back, now you go from having no forwards to a plethora of forwards with which you can pick from.
Well, plethora might be an exaggeration, but you have more depth for sure.
Yes.
And the thing about Jay Crowder, which is a little surprising to me, is why didn't they just sign him earlier? I mean, he was available this entire time. It took the Trey Lyles injury to kind of bring him into the mix. So I was a little surprised about that, but I'm glad we have him now because I think on the net he's a plus. And if for nothing else, I just think his leadership and what he does in the locker room is good. And with Isaac Jones, you could see that potential in the preseason. He was the one guy that Henry and I constantly were talking about. This guy has got some serious upside. And we know his basketball background is limited. He's played 5 years of professional basketball. So his potential is really intriguing. And we're seeing that now because he's getting better every game. And beyond that, his hustle, his effort, that energy is feeding everybody else too. And that alone is a plus for the Kings.
Yeah, I love Isaac Jones's story so much. I can't wait to watch him continue to grow as a basketball player because 5 years ago, he wasn't playing basketball. And then he went from community college to Idaho to Washington State. I'm just very excited to see this because now you have him. You can reintegrate Trey Lyles potentially. Maybe Jay Crowder is the move. To your point about why they didn't just sign Jay Crowder in the first place, they ultimately thought Doug McDermott was a better option than Jay Crowder at the beginning of the year. And now Doug McDermott can barely find any playing time. So I guess it's Jay Crowder time to see how that signing works out.
No doubt. And the interesting thing with McDermott is that you would think he would be part of the 3-point solution, right? That's why they got Dougie Buckets, but that hasn't worked out right now for sure.
Yeah, it just hasn't been the answer. And maybe it will be later down the road. We're about 5 seconds away from coming back.
Technology Toshiba Studios, Sacktown Sports, 1140.
Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports, 1140. Scott Marsh, high flyer, a little under the weather tonight. He won't be with us for the Kings broadcast. That's unfortunately, we missed the high flyer, of course, but Kyle's with us. He's back at our Sacktown Sports Studios. We're glad to have him on this busy Sunday. I always love these Sundays when you've got a full slate of NFL football. You got the Kings game at 6 o'clock after football. Of course, I mean, there is Chiefs Chargers tonight, but we're focusing on Kings and Jazz. 49ers winning earlier today. The Rams also winning earlier on, so that sets up a good matchup on Thursday night between the Rams and the 49ers. And also Seattle today beating Arizona. So right now the Seahawks are still 2 games up on the 49ers in the Western Conference as they try to get themselves back into a conference hunt to win the Western Division. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, let's talk some more Kings, some good stuff in our chat room here. We'll be with you until 5:30 tonight as the Kings get ready to take on the Utah Jazz tonight. And as we said, Utah comes in limping. They're just 5-17 right now. And the Kings really, this is a game they've got to take advantage of. This is one of these games, Kyle, where the Kings are at home. They're against an inferior team, and now they've got to take advantage and get a win at home. No doubt about it.
No doubt. And dropping the game to Portland last Friday was really tough because I'd been saying since the start of the year, I might have even mentioned it on one of the game nights we did, that everyone across the league should go 6-2 against the Utah and Portland games this season, right? Those are universally regarded as the 2 worst teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Pelicans have had injury issues that have caused them to be, I think, 4-18 right now. But going into the season, everyone said Utah and Portland, those are the games you expect to win. If you go 6-2, you're keeping pace. If you go 7-1 or 8-0, you feel really good about yourself. Well, Sacramento dropped a Portland game earlier. They are already 2-0 against Utah this year, so you would really hope that they can get a win tonight and keep some margin for error as they go along through one of the toughest schedules in the NBA the rest of the way.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, it won't get easier for Sacramento at all. And we're going to have our injury report in a little bit here. We'll get you updated because the Jazz have a lot of injuries as well, which are going to make their situation more challenging tonight. But we continue our Kings conversation because we're trying to figure this team out right now. 11-23, or excuse me, 11-13. They're not 11-23. That'd be a 10-game losing streak, which we are not putting on them for sure. But we're just trying to figure out what this team is and what this team wants to be. And I think the identity issue is still something that the Kings are really struggling about. We're used to this team being all about pace. We're used to this team being a good three-point shooting team. And that's not really what this team is. It's a good team in a lot of different ways. I mean, they've been really good from the free throw line. They've been drawing fouls. They've been a different team, Kyle. And you can win the other way. It's different. And the Kings are going to have to find out how to be consistently able to do that, especially when they don't shoot the ball well.
Yeah. And despite the fact that there's been complaints about missing 3-pointers, well, not just 3-pointers, wide open 3-pointers at league worst rates. They're 28th and 29th in many of the 3-point shooting metrics. Scott, they still have the 8th best offensive rating in the NBA right now.
And I'm so glad you made that point. Let me just jump in real quickly because Mike Brown made that point too. They're actually 6th in the league, I believe, currently in offensive rating. So, that's really interesting because, again, we know how much they've struggled in 3-point shooting. I believe they're 24th in the league in 3-point shooting at the moment. 6th overall in offensive rating. So a lot of things that we complained about with the Kings in the last 2 years with them being a good 3-point shooting team where they don't get to the line enough. They're not good enough in the paint at times. Well, those aren't the issues with this Sacramento Kings team.
In the first half of the game on Friday, to your point, I believe DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis combined went 13 for 13 at the free throw line, which is what last year we would have dreamed of having anybody go 13 for 13 or any 2 players on the Kings shoot at that clip. So it's a different offense this year, and DeMar DeRozan is one of the best at getting to the free throw line and knocking down free throws, and that being a big part of his offensive game as anyone in the league. And I think it's kickstarted a lot of that for the Kings. But to the point about identity we were talking about, I've kind of felt as long as you do something at a league best level or an elite level, whether that's getting to the free throw line, shooting threes, mid ranges, paint touches, whatever, as long as you do something at an elite level, you have a chance of being an elite offense in the NBA. And the thing that the Kings are doing at an elite level is getting those mid range jumpers, getting to the free throw line, and underrated, getting to the rim. I mean, Keegan Murray's been one of the best in the league at getting to the rim and getting baskets. So there's this fine line that the Kings are working through right now of, yeah, we're not great in the 3-point shooting department. In fact, we're pretty bad, but we are still a very good offense. And they've kind of been balancing that quite nicely as of late. I won't say when they had the injuries, but as of late, they've gotten better there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think Keegan Murray right now is kind of the poster child for the Kings and what's going on, right? Because he's transitioning. Year one, great 3-point shooter, breaks the rookie record for most threes by a rookie. Struggling now from beyond the arc, although he's shown some flashes of maybe coming out of it, and we know he's got the ability to. He's proven that to us, so we'll see. Maybe he can. But right now, it's every aspect of the game that Keegan is doing that Mike Brown's focused in on. He's really challenging him to be aggressive offensively. He wants to see him draw 2 offensive fouls every game, right? And if he picks up a charge and getting somebody else to foul him on his way to the basket, so be it. He's thrilled with the way he's playing defense. He talks about how strong he is and locked in defensively. So, I think Mike Brown on the whole is I like the Keegan Murray I have now versus I had in year one. His fans were like, we missed the Keegan Murray that was scoring and hitting all these 3-point shots.
Scott, we were talking about this on Friday after the Grizzlies game, that Keegan Murray had 11 points, 10 rebounds. He shot, I believe, 60% from 2-pointers. I think went 1 for 7 on 3-pointers. But he had a double-double, and Ja Morant was in the torture chamber the whole night trying to get around Keegan Murray defensively. So if that's what Keegan Murray's bringing to the table, that's a very good NBA player and someone that I'm very happy to have on my team. Now, I wish Keegan didn't have to spend every game guarding one-on-one the best player 1 through 4 on whoever the other team is, but that's the situation the Kings find themselves in, and it's worked out tremendously so far. So I'm glad you brought that up and what Mike Brown was talking about with Keegan, because I felt like Keegan has gotten a bad rap so far.
He has, but in my opinion, Keegan's got to give them more offensively, right? Mike Brown, he's a defensive coach by nature, and obviously it's about both sides of the floor, and he can't control makes or misses, and the players can't either. But I think as a fan watching the game, we understand that it is a make or miss league to some extent. So it's all of these things coming together at once, which makes it tough and a little frustrating right now with the Kings and the way they are at 11-13. And I think the bigger question is, obviously the offensive rating is 6th right now in the league, and that's a great number. They're top 10. It's just way different than what it was before. And with the way the league is going to a 3-point shooting league, every year you just look at the number of threes that are being put up and you look at the analytics and the way this league is going, is the Kings offense as they're going about it in 2024. Is that the way you can keep going about it in the NBA of 2024? It's like the league is kind of going one direction and the Kings are kind of going back in another direction.
Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Fair, not fair?
I think it's fair. I know my brain has been challenged a little bit watching the Kings this year because I watched DeMar DeRozan shoot mid-range jumpers at a better clip than anyone in the league. He's at 52%. And then when he shoots the long 2 where his foot is on the line, I just cringe because I'm like, God, just take 1 step backwards and it's worth 1 more point. And that's just the natural flow of his game. And I've just learned to kind of accept that that's how his game is going to go. So I think it's been an adjustment for me to look at this Kings offense, and as frustrating as it's been and as different as it's been from the past 2 years, especially that Beam Team season, they are still a very good offense, and their defense has improved. Defensive rating is 15th right now, which obviously I say 15th, and that sounds middle of the road, but it's better than where they've been the last 2 years.
Better than it was.
Yeah, for sure.
And year one.
And you're getting defensive output out of Herter, and it feels different this year for sure. I will say fair to your point.
It does. But the ultimate thing is wins and losses and what's going to be most effective to get you where you want to go in terms of being a playoff team. And I think that's the conversation, obviously, they're having within the King circles, and we're having here on our show as well. And out there as fans, everybody is having in Sacramento. All right, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into a little bit. Zach Collins picked up a fine for his interactions with the refs on Friday night in San Antonio. We all saw that. And we'll get you caught up on scores and everything else going around the league as well. It's Game Night. It's brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If you're interested in being a volunteer mentor, there are so many kids out there who could use an outside mentor in their life. Maybe you could be one of them. If you're interested, please give the Big Brothers and Big Sisters a call. Look them up at bbbs-sac.org to learn more about it. BBBS, Big Brothers Big Sisters.org. And you can find out all about that. And it's just -SAC here in Sacramento. When we come back, we'll go through the scores. We'll get you the injury report as well. It's game nights. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
This copyrighted broadcast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the NBA.
Hi, I'm Justin Gingery. One of the most common questions I receive is what makes us different from other law firms. At Gingery, Hammer and Associates, we handle your case.
All righty, we are live on YouTube.
All right, where should we go, Kyle?
Where should we go? Let me peek real quick here.
Okay.
Yeah, some people are talking rotations here. I know we're gonna have the injury update coming up in a second, but just for your sake, so that we know for sure, Lauri Markkanen is available for the Utah Jazz tonight. So
yes, he was listed as questionable, which usually means he'll play. So he did not play against Portland.
Did not play, but he's going to be.
And they blew out the Blazers by 40-something without him.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of an interesting result there. So to the conversation, I brought that up just to go back to the conversation we were just having. So we presume Keegan will be guarding Lauri Markkanen pretty much through and through tonight, right?
Yes.
That would be the guess. And so I just think it's interesting talking about the Kings' defensive rating and everything right now that you had Keegan go from guarding Ja Morant one night to now Lauri Markkanen another night. And we want the offensive game to pick up for him, but his offensive game now is, I guess, evolving because the shots are not there. And it seems like, based on the conversation you had with Mike Brown, maybe they're not going to be asking him to be primarily a shooter. They want him to get downhill and get to the rim and things of those sorts.
I just think Mike Brown, is developing Keegan. And I think in the back of his mind, he thinks that the three-pointers will be there for him, right? Right now it's been painful because they haven't. And if we're being, real about it, I mean, the Kings have lost games because they've been so badly outshot behind the three-point arc. I mean, I know as a coach, you don't want to say that because there's so many elements to a game and you can't control makes or misses. But, I mean, all you have to do is look at the stat sheet. And when you're outshot by 30 points behind the three-point line, it's tough to recover. Now, again, he makes the point with Houston and Orlando, teams that don't shoot it well either, and they've got good records going. So you can make a case either way on that. But certainly we know when the Kings are shooting well, they're winning games. Let's go into the chat. Let's see. There's no rhyme or reason for Brown's rotations. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if it's without rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
I feel like he's been pretty consistent about the rotation. I just feel like he doesn't have a lot of depth on the bench right now to work with.
Yeah.
In terms of with his rotations.
And the rotations have been pretty steady, at least ever since Trey Lyles went out, which is when they kind of moved Malik over to the starting lineup. They tried one game with Crowder in the starting lineup, and then they kind of made that switch. So, Isaac Jones being in the starting or in the rotation has cured a lot of ills, I think, recently. People went from we don't have anybody to play forward to now they can put Isaac Jones out there and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. All right, we'll save it.
All right. 24:30 is our out time.
Okay.
1,000 off new 2025 Silverado at Maida Chevy. Now that's big, huge. See them all at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Now available with special financing lease in some of their offers.
Welcome back to the game night. Our final segment. We'll be with you until 5:30 tonight. Get you ready for Kings Live pregame. Coming up, our injury report. We'll get to that in just a moment. We do want to go around the league really quickly. A couple of news updates. We saw what Zach Collins did on Friday night, flipping the bird at a NBA official, which I hadn't seen in a long time. That certainly caught me off guard. The league's come out and fined him $35,000 for that. So the Kings have cost some other teams some money here recently. Ime Udoka got fined $50,000 for yelling at an official here on Tuesday night. And then Friday night, Zach Collins picks up $35,000. And I didn't see if John Morant got fined at all. Obviously, he got ejected on Thursday night. But what do you make of the $35,000? Is the punishment worth the crime?
I don't think it's ever worth the crime, but for me at home, I thought that was just funny. It was so because they got picked up very briefly on the television broadcast for the Kings.
Oh, they caught it. Yeah, square.
I was caught so off guard that I was just like, I had never considered that a player would go for that move just after picking up a normal tech and just say, in the middle of the second quarter, I'm good. I'm done at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is worth $35,000. I mean, there was no doubt the league was going to come down with a fine for that. I thought there could be a possible suspension. It doesn't look like there's going to be a suspension, just a fine for Zach Collins, who lost his cool, obviously. All right, let's go around the league a little bit here. The Joker, last night, he scores 56, but the Denver Nuggets lose in Washington to the Wizards. And they snap a 16-game losing skid. I can't figure out the Nuggets because they're in the second half of a back-to-back tonight. And they're just absolutely blowing out the Hawks, 134-107. And the Joker's having another huge game. He's got 46 right now. And I'm assuming he's out of the game. There's only 2 minutes left. But last two games, over 100 points for the Joker. And the Nuggets split, losing in Washington.
Yeah, I think I'm used to the Joker having to go through games like that because we went through that season where he didn't have Michael Porter Jr. and didn't have Jamal Murray, and he won the MVP, but they were like the 6th seed. But it's weird that we're back to that at this point, right? It's a starting lineup of Peyton Watson, Porter Jr., Westbrook, Christian Braun. It's like that should be good enough to beat Washington, especially with 56, but he's just being asked to do so much right now.
Right. Any team's good enough to beat Washington. That's proven. And I think, to your point, Denver has a Sacramento problem is that their bench isn't strong. They've got a great starting five, but they don't have a lot of depth off that bench. I mean, they've lost key players who were really contributors when they won the championship.
Yeah, between Bruce Brown a couple of years ago and now KCP and all of that. And to your point, in the loss against Washington, they had 21 total bench points, and 18 of them came from Julian Strother. So they were getting virtually nothing.
Exactly. That says everything you need to know. All right, we've got to get to our injury report tonight. So we'll get you update on who's playing, who's not. The injury report, again, brought to you by the law firm of Gingery, Hammer, and Associates. If you've got an injury, just call Gingery. For the Kings tonight, they are relatively healthy again. It's just Trey Lyles who is going to be out. Although I do have a late announcement too. It looks like Isaac Jones is going to be out tonight as well, feeling under the weather. So that's not going to help the Kings' cause. For the Jazz tonight, Lauri Markkanen, as you announced, will play tonight. Was listed as questionable, but out is Jordan Clarkson with his foot. That's a big loss for them tonight. What do you make? The Kings down Isaac Jones. That certainly is going to help or hurt the energy off the bench.
Well, I've been loving Isaac Jones ever since he started playing, so I personally am very sad to not get to see Isaac Jones play tonight, but it's Jay Crowder time, I guess. We're going to see probably some Jay Crowder in there, those DeRozan playing the 4 lineups. I know against the Spurs, they briefly ran a Keegan at the 5 lineup in that game too, so maybe we'll see some of that tonight, but yeah, I would imagine that Crowder is the one who gets about 20 minutes coming off the bench.
No doubt. And obviously they'll put multiple players on Markkanen. Where do you rank Markkanen? I mean, Wemby's the ultimate unicorn. Porzingis was the original unicorn. Where is Markkanen in that mix?
I think of Markkanen kind of like where Porzingis was on the Knicks, in the sense that it's like, it's hard to. Markkanen was not a good player before he got to Utah, and now he's played at an all-star level. But now he's also in year 8 in the league, and Markkanen has never made the playoffs. I couldn't believe that. He has never made the playoffs a single year of his career. So I think of it like Porzingis on the Knicks, where there's just not a good enough team to know where he stands in terms of the league at large.
Interesting point. All right, we only have a minute left. Any key that you see tonight for Sacramento?
Beyond the making shots part of it, the thing I'm really interested in is coming out of halftime. They have been a very good third quarter team this year. We didn't see that in losses against Portland and San Antonio, so I'm very excited to see third quarter Kings. How do they come out of the locker room? If they have a lead, do they blow them out? If a game is close, how do they respond? I'm very curious to see third quarter Kings tonight.
Well, all I can say is the Kings need to win this one. I expect them to win this one tonight. You can't lose to a team who is 5-17 on your home floor. Kings just have to find a way to get this one done tonight. No excuses about that one. All right, that's going to do it for game night. Kyle, great job. Thanks for helping me out with the high flyer. Not here tonight. Appreciate it. I know you'll be on the board all night long. Coming up next, it's Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross is here with the G-Man Gary Gerald. 6 o'clock tip